You guys know that we love to travel, but like most of you, we've been grounded, and honestly, we had some concerns about how safe travel would be when the time came. So when Essential Travel took us to LA, we were obviously a bit nervous. I mean, we knew the steps that we could take to protect ourselves, but there's a lot that's out of our control, including what the airlines are doing to protect passengers.
All right, guys, we are the Twin Doctors, and we're going to show you how to fly safely or as safely as possible during a pandemic. So what we always do is we double mask. We wear an N95 or KN95 first, and then we wear our fashionable cloth mask that happens to match my attire.
Now, what we want you guys to know is this: in the hospital, when we go to the OR, when we deal with patients that we know have COVID, we put on the N95 first and then a second mask over it. The reason the N95 is super important is, as its name kind of indicates, it will block 95% of particles that are 0.3 microns or larger. Now, some viruses are smaller than 0.3 microns, but we're gonna get to that a little bit later. There's actually some interesting information about that. But for now, N95, mask over the N95, and you get ready to rock and roll.
And we're off, let's go.
Things you can control when you travel: wearing a mask, bringing gloves, using hand sanitizer. Things you can't control when you travel: check-in, dealing with luggage, going through security, and sitting on a metal tube with lots of folks for X number of hours. Now, we didn't know what the airlines were doing to address these issues. Luckily for us, United LAX supervisor Glenn Daniels, who clearly pulled the short straw having to show us jokers around, took us around behind the scenes and broke it all down
Pull your
for
mask
us.
down a little bit.
First up, employee screening.
And what it's an infrared camera, and it'll give you your temperature.
Okay.
And we have to be below 100.4. 100.4, and then what happens is everyone will get one, then you get a sticker, and we put a sticker on our badge to them, then I check all the employees to make sure everyone's done every day.
And they have to do this every day?
Every day when they come into work.
Okay,
They
that's
get
every employee? Pilots,
every employee.
Flight attendants?
Everyone.
Everybody?
Everyone.
Okay.
But they also they've given all the flight attendants their own thermometers.
Oh, really? Okay.
So they're doing self-testing before they come to the airport.
Okay.
They're supposed to self. That way, if they're at home or the hotel.
Universal employee screening is super important. We actually undergo the same type of infrared screening every day when we get to the hospital because we know that a person without obvious symptoms can still transmit COVID-19. Employee screening, covered. Now, what about us flyers? Did you notice the plastic shields at the check-in desks?
Put the shields up.
Yeah.
But you can pass through the hole rather than, doing this. It's ways it keeps you away from them.
Makes sense. If you can't check in online, these provide one more barrier. Folks, when we're in the middle of a pandemic, you can't have enough barriers. Barriers, barriers, barriers. But what about your bags? Checking in online is a great idea. That's just one less person that you have to interact with. If you check in online, what about your bags?
Just hold it under the barcode, bring it back. Okay, you're good.
Well, just scan your electronic boarding pass and voila, you get your own bag tag. Just drop off your bag and you are good to go.
So what we're gonna do is, they already checked in. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna run them through security, and I'm gonna go ahead up to they're gonna be up at gate 75B. Okay. And you get a chance to see the spray that we do in every airplane now. We've done this for the last, it's been about 3 to 4 weeks. Every airplane that comes in, they deboard the plane. The cleaning crew goes on, they wipe all the airplane down, they drop all the tray tables, drop everything down, and the guy goes in with a sprayer and he sprays he goes down one side of the airplane and he does the other side. And all this spray goes in, it's like a mist, like a fog, and it actually comes in and it covers everything. Kills 99% of all the viruses. It's all tied into Clorox because we're combined with Clorox now. So it's a spray that does, and then what that does, you let it sit you only have to let it sit for 2 minutes, and then when cleaners go back in, they'll wipe the tray tables back up, fold them up, and then that's it, because doesn't leave really a film, it's just a mist in the air that kills.
The extent of employee screening was obviously reassuring. And as germophobic, yeah, it's tough to be a doctor and a germaphobe. But as germophobic introverts, being able to check in, get a boarding pass, check our luggage, and have to interact with not one single person, that was beyond reassuring. As were the plastic shields at the check-in desk, if you did have to speak to somebody. But the more things change, right? There is no getting around TSA. But one benefit of flying during a pandemic, my friends, smaller crowds.
As you can see, this isn't what's normal walking through the terminal. Just some pictures I had. I'll have to show you. I was at the other end down there, taking pictures all the way up with not a single person in here. We're gonna go down to 75B. We put the shields here so you can walk up, and if you're on the side, you're still not breathing to them.
Yeah.
So we did this because there's many customers are right here, right? Right. You have your badge and you're doing your thing, so that way we don't want you breathing on our customers, and you don't want the customer agent breathing on you. Yeah. So it's a two-way street.
Yep. Keep your breath to yourself, please. You know those conversations get heated when that upgrade doesn't clear. Next up, we got to check out the electrostatic cleaning process, and bonus, this was the actual plane for our upcoming flight to Sweet Home, Chicago.
People are generally walking, you can see it. You stop, you see, because most people are looking this. You think they're looking down, but they're not. So we decided to put them up, and that way they don't get ruined when we're cleaning the floors and everything. So we did it every jetway. So here's what they go through and do a full clean on the airplane. They go in, they wipe it down, like I told you. They drop the mask. It's a mist in the air. You don't even see it. It's so faint. It actually it blends right into the. You don't even see like a mist. It's all coming out from the unit. And it's if you go in the airplane, you touch it, you can feel it, but you don't see it because it's so fine that it goes in all the grooves. He goes in all the seats, he goes in all the overhead bins, and what he does, he goes down one side of the airplane, circles back, comes down this side, and then after he's out, he waits 2 minutes, and then the cleaning crew will go back on, and they'll go back on, wipe up anything on the tray tables, and they'll fold them all up. And then they could board right after that. On these airplanes, they have what's called their filter system in this plane. Everybody thinks the air goes in and stays in there and just stays stagnant. Yeah. Completely false. I'm a mechanic. I was the manager for tech maintenance here for 10 years. Yeah. So I moved over to CS for some crazy reason. But in the meantime, so the filters come in. There's a ram air openings in the front of the airplane. Fresh air goes in. It goes in through filters, it runs down back through the airplane, and what it does is it cycles out through the cabin, and then it goes down the bottom, goes back through HEPA filters, back through the back, and it relieves the back of the airplane. Cycles back through, goes out the rear of the airplane through what's called outflow valves. Okay. And it basically leaves. The air cycles through every 2 minutes, and the air's, I can tell you this, but all the testing they do in the air, probably better in the air. It is better in the air you're breathing in your house, and it's better than the air we're breathing outside. These HEPA filters are just, and they're changing these HEPA filters. Used to be a cycle of once a month, but now they're doing it less than half of the time. Every week or two, they're changing HEPA filters, and it's amazing how good these HEPA filters clean. And the airplane cycling, I always joke, it's better than the air you breathe outside. Yeah, and everybody thinks it's not. It is.
I was going to say, it's a common misconception that it's actually not, but yeah, that's like. And the thing about the HEPA filters is, the HEPA filters actually block more than these N95s. And so we're doctors, right? And when we are dealing with patients who have COVID, we always wear the N95.
Bingo.
But those HEPA filters are more effective than the N95.
And so your air is coming in, cycling, going back. First it comes in through the HEPA filter, goes in, comes back through the HEPA filter, and cycles back through the back of the airplane and goes out the outflow valve. So every 2 minutes the air cycles through. Every 2 minutes the air goes in and goes out, in and out. So it's in the filter, out the bed. Yeah. So you don't have bad air. You got good you don't have stagnant air. Yeah. And everybody thinks it's always been recycled.
Question, where do sick boats go to get better? The doc, duh. Where do sick planes go to get better? Trick question, they don't get sick, and they don't get sick because of this electrostatic cleaning process. Of all of the things we saw, it was the coolest, and we could not believe that it only took 8 minutes to do an entire 737. Touchless check-in and baggage handling, that's great. But it was this cleaning process that made us feel more comfortable about flying than anything else we saw. With about an hour to go before boarding, we had to cool our jets, yeah, pun intended, in the United Club. That's where we met Jamil.
So how have things changed here in the club since COVID?
Well, it's a little quiet.
Yeah.
A little bit quiet, but it's picking up a little bit.
She's right. This is probably the quietest we have seen the LAX United Club in, ever. The first thing that grabs your attention at the club are the huge windows and these tarmac views. We are aerophiles after all, and we just had to take a few minutes to appreciate all that heavy metal out there. The next thing you notice, the new emphasis on hygiene. There were signs stressing the importance of hand hygiene and face covering, as well as hand hygiene stations literally everywhere. A germaphobe's dream. That's the good. The not so good? Where the heck are the food and beverage stations? What about the food?
Change the policy, we're letting you bring food in, because we don't usually do that, but you're welcome to now.
Okay, so we hate to admit it, but doing away with the buffet and the beverage stations makes sense. While there is still a small selection of packaged snacks available and beverages that you can get from the bar, you also are allowed to bring in food from outside of the club, so you can still stuff your face in the club while you're chillaxing. Before boarding, we did have one last stop. We had to thank Glenn for the great behind-the-scenes access. And, you know we had to make our pitch, right? How about free flights for life if we find the cure for COVID-19? We thought it was a long shot, but guess what, guys? Glenn said yes. So our first job when we get home, we gotta find that cure for COVID. Thanks for everything, Glenn.
What I was impressed with really was the entire process, right? If you're going to get any type of infection from coronavirus or any other germ for that matter, you're basically going to introduce it into your body one of two ways. Either you're going to breathe it in, or you're going to touch a surface and then touch your face, and it's going to get into your body that way. And the entire process they have in place pretty much prevents exposure by both routes, right? So they have this touchless check-in. So you don't have to touch any surfaces. Coronavirus can live on plastics and metals for anywhere from 3 to 4 days. So theoretically, anything plastic or metal in this airport could have coronavirus on it. But with this touchless check-in, you don't have to touch anything. You have to wear your mask, right? That's going to prevent you from breathing anything in, basically. They're doing this electrostatic cleaning of the planes. That basically is going to get rid of not just coronavirus, but really any germs that could potentially cause infection. And even after they do the electrostatic cleaning, they're still wiping their surfaces down as well. And so really, any possible way that you could get coronavirus is being addressed through this process. I think the point is that there's nothing we can do in life, be it traveling, just going to the gas station, going to the grocery store. It's going to be 100% safe. But having said that, there are people that have been quarantining in their houses that have gotten corona from food delivery. You know, there's just nothing you're going to be able to do to 100% get rid of that risk. But I think that kind of what I've learned with the flights we've taken, the flight we're about to take, and what we've seen behind the scenes here at LAX is that companies are taking the precautions necessary, and it's not just window dressing. These are actually scientific-based precautions necessary to reduce the risk. And I feel comfortable. Yeah. Nothing 100%, but I feel comfortable. And what I think passengers need to know is it's not just, like you said, it's not window dressing. It's not just what you're seeing. I mean, you're seeing the check-in process. You're seeing them wipe surfaces down. That stuff you're seeing, but they're doing stuff behind the scenes that you're not seeing. Every employee, flight attendants, pilots, anybody who could potentially come in contact with you or your luggage, they're having to have their temperature checks before they come in. Some of them are being encouraged to check their temperature before they even get to the airport. And then when they get to the airport, they're having their temperature checked. They're wiping down all of the surfaces in the areas behind the scenes that the employees are coming in contact with as well. And so from top to bottom, steps are being taken to eliminate transmission of the virus. And at the end of the day, we're gonna have to get back to normal life at some point, right?
Or some similar, the new normal.
And that's gonna require precautions being taken. And quite frankly, I'm impressed with the steps that have been taken. And, you know, it's not just window dressing in part because coronavirus is like an existential threat to airlines, right? And so they're taking this very seriously. And what you're seeing here at United Airlines is they're taking it very seriously. And they're doing what they need to do to keep their passengers and their employees safe.
And, you know, little disclaimer, nobody paid us to do this.
Yeah, no.
We bought our own tickets. United didn't pay us.
No.
They just gave us a little behind the scenes access, you know, as physicians, because I told them I wanted to document, you know, what they were doing. And, you know, I feel like it's legitimate. I mean, it makes you feel comfortable flying.
All joking aside, I think that these airports and these airplanes are probably a lot cleaner than our homes, probably a lot cleaner than places we're going to in public, the restaurants that everybody's dying to get back to. You know, I think
bars.
the bars, exactly, the bars. You know, I think that these airplanes and these airports are a lot cleaner than a lot of these places. And so, you know what? It's time to start traveling again. Hopefully, if you
feel comfortable,
exactly.
But when that time comes, I think they're taking the precautions necessary to make it as safe as possible.
I mean, at the end of the day, we're doctors. We know the risks associated with coronavirus. We have families we care about. If you're seeing us on these planes flying comfortably, it means that most people can get on these planes and fly comfortably.
Because I love me, and I don't want to put me in harm's way.
I love me some me. So
exactly.
if I'm not feeling like I'm putting me at
it's
risk,
okay.
then yeah, I think we're pretty good. So all in all, I was impressed with the whole process. I really was. Big shout out to United Airlines.